Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Let's continue our discussion of the strange case of David Coleman Headley, a.k.a. Daoud Gilani, master spy, ace of spies, stealth agent, double agent, triple agent. But what it all means is that the CIA is implicated up to its neck in the bombing, well, in this case, the massacre with firearms in Mumbai, India, around Thanksgiving time, U.S. calendar, back in late November 2008. The timing, right after the U.S.-India nuclear deal. Now, in India, this deal was not popular. There was significant opposition that had to be neutralized. So it was the idea of getting the U.S. and India in a block against the jihadis and the Pakistanis. It was a way of demonizing Pakistan, and it began the massive, right after Obama's election, the massive redirection of the entire U.S. intelligence community and military-industrial complex and contractor Blackwater DynCorp complex against Pakistan. So Obama's revamping for the CIA wave of terror against Pakistan. So this is what is involved. Now, the news about Headley is not just that Headley plus his friend Rana, his sidekick, and the mysterious Major Pasha, known as Major Syed Pasha, they're all indicted, they're all arrested in Chicago or elsewhere. But the Indian Home Ministry, that means the Department of Justice, in effect, right? The police minister of India, Gopal Pillai, his opinion as expressed by the spokesperson of the ministry is, quote, India is looking into whether Headley is a double agent for the U.S., because the story is that he began to work together with the infamous Lashkar-e-Taiba. This is the group, it's a very, very shadowy group. I would say more likely a creation of the U.S. CIA and the British directly, involved in all kinds of dirty things, involved in Daniel Pearl and all the rest of it, things that the U.S. Bush needed at the time. Anyway, Lashkar-e-Taiba allegedly fights under Pakistani direction to get the Indians out of those disputed portions of Kashmir, where it's 95% Muslim, and the Indians have been occupying them for 62 years. So he was sheep-dipped. He was sent to the camps of Lashkar-e-Taiba, easy to do, sheep-dip him, bring him out. This guy is a bon vivant. He reminds us of Atta, and he reminds us also of Major Hassan. In other words, this is a lavish lifestyle guy. We don't have the full details, but you get the idea. It's going to be another discotheque, cocaine, lap dances, this kind of stuff. And then, of course, he's an Islamic fundamentalist. Well, these do not mix. So sheep-dipped in Lashkar-e-Taiba. There's another group called Huji, H-U-J-I, in which he is implicated and sheep-dipped. So the Indian government, speaking through the relevant home ministry, says India thinks Headley may be a double agent working for the U.S. The RAW is up in arms, the famous Indian CIA, the Research and Analysis Wing. They're not happy. They say the U.S. is not being transparent. Now, what they're demanding is the following. They say, extradite Headley, Daoud Gilani, to India, and we will grill him about the Mumbai massacre. U.S. not going to do it, I guarantee you. The other thing is the FBI has all kinds of tapes of Coleman Headley, Daoud Gilani, talking to God knows what terrorists that he has on the phone. The Indian government said, well, why don't you give us those tapes? Nothing doing. CIA, FBI, joint stonewall against India. So there's a scandal. There's a wave of revulsion and indignation in India. Right, this was 180 people killed and hundreds of others wounded by these patsies who ran wild in Mumbai. Came in by boat. You'll remember the story. Thanksgiving 2008. So there is now a crisis in U.S.-Indian relations. The question is with the Indians, how far are they going to take this? What India is now finding out, is that this is the price of making this ill-advised alliance to become a cat's paw and a continental dagger for the U.S. Now, remember, there were always severe problems with the Mumbai massacre to begin with. Remember, according to first reports, there was a CIA mastermind who ran like a thread through all of these people. He was identified at that time as Dawood Ibrahim. He has since, of course, disappeared from the narrative, as so often happens. The original early reports often much more reliable than the stuff that comes in later when the party line has been imposed on all concerned. But this Dawood Ibrahim, who is he? Where is he? Dawood Gilani, Dawood Ibrahim, is that the same guy? Different versions of Dawood? I don't know, but that's a very interesting story. You'll remember also there was a valiant and fair-minded and honest Indian anti-terror official by the name of Karkare, K-A-R-K-A-R-E. And this Karkare was the guy who said, look, we have to look at terrorism in all its forms, tous azimut. We're looking in all directions. We're looking at Muslims. We're looking at Hindus. We're looking at atheists. We're looking at communists. We're looking at Maoists. We look at all of them. We look at everybody. Well, that's no good in the war on terror. So Karkare, of course, was assassinated along with some of his top officials that he worked with in the early stages of this Mumbai massacre. He was clearly targeted. There's clearly a squad of snipers that were not these psychotic patsies that were then these guys were gotten out of town, right? These are the technicians, right, in my typology that do not show up. The surviving terrorist is this guy Kasab, right? He's the only one who survived. He's been on trial in India since May. And you'll remember there are these pictures of this grinning patsy, obviously a psychotic patsy, wearing what sources have described as a Hindu wristband, the typical devotional object. It's like if it's a rosary, it's a Roman Catholic. If it's a wristband of this sort, it's a Hindu. Now, what does it mean? Is it just camouflage? Is it something just to confuse people? I don't know. But Kasab is there, and there are serious problems with him. So the story that is told now, the CIA denies everything. They say this is complete and utter nonsense. It is flat out false. This guy, Headley, does not work for us. Well, it's clear that he did work for the DEA. He did work for the CIA. The CIA theory now being planted in various newspapers around the world is that, yeah, Headley worked for the CIA, but he went rogue. He was so convinced by those arguments and the persuasion of those jihadis that he had to work with that he decided that he would betray the U.S. and become a real, honest-to-God terrorist. Now, if you want to believe this, you are a sucker. You should grow up. This is not the world. Therefore, forget the rogue double agent. This is a real double agent, or maybe, again, triple agent might be the best way to put it. This is, in other words, somebody who's working for the CIA all along. And what he promoted in terms of this Mumbai massacre is because the CIA wanted it done for global geopolitical, geostrategic reasons, to solidify the U.S.-India nuclear deal, to knock the opposition to that back on their heels, to bring forward the extremist Hindus rather than the leftists who didn't like this deal, demonize Pakistan, popularize in the U.S. as well as in India this idea of the U.S.-India alliance against Pakistan, against terrorism, and redirect the entire establishment against Pakistan as a way of preparing where we are now, which is all-out war, practically, against Pakistan. The question to India, I invite India to reconsider, is your future that of a cat's paw continental dagger for the U.S. against Pakistan? In that case, you will be mauled. You will fare very badly. Rethink. Still time to pull back, and we'll be back in a minute.